Hey, I mean, even if we have to cut the first 15 minutes of it out, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's not serious.
Okay, you ready?
It's not serious. Am I ready?
Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, everyone. Welcome to the Ionic Blondes podcast, episode 2.
Episode 2.
It's official. Episode 2. You've made it this far. You might be crazy.
Or sane.
Or you really just want to hear the truth. Or maybe you just want a different perspective from two Ionic opinions. So, last episode we brought...
I knew that was going to happen.
Okay,
we're going to love this janky start that we had.
I know, like, we're getting a studio. Maybe I went and looked at a studio today to possibly do the podcast in. So
I don't know. I'm always going to be that die-hard, let's start in a garage.
In the garage. Amazon.
And never progress from the garage. Sit there, billionaires sitting in a garage. But yes.
Yes, that is how we started. So last episode we touched on a lot of really sensitive topics, some big topics that a lot of people are talking about, or a lot of people at least experience, because, you know, we're all trying to have friends or trying to date to some capacity.
Trying to have significant sig figs.
Sig figs.
Sig figs is what I like to call them. Hey, you bring in your sig fig. Everybody's confused. I've had to find a whole different terminology to define other people when they come into my social parameters.
You're like
I don't want to call them the girlfriend, or
because
like
you put somebody in a weird spot,
or like your lady friend, because so me and my awkward self and always having to define something, I'm like
the engineer in you. It's
correct.
Like there has to be a title.
Oh, you're bringing your sig fig. And everybody was like, what?
Like, what the fuck, Kevin?
Your significant other, but also significant figures. It's a whole
you know.
math. Anyway.
Titles.
Anyway, so sig figs, that's the whole thing that we are just, like, all of us as a society are just blowing our minds up
I know,
over.
it's like, it's such a complicated, but it's not complicated. It's so simple. It's like, if you know what you want, you communicate it, you're vulnerable about it, and then the other person can say what they want and whatever they desire from the situation. And then you communicate about it, and then you have a joint understanding. Is that really hard?
No, this is the hippy dippy coming. It's the hippy dippy coming out. It is so hard in today's society.
Maybe that's why I'm so pale and you're so tan.
No, this is not the reason. Not
the light
and
the darkness.
The light and the dark. No, it's not that whatsoever. It's just, all right, we talked about we had too many alphas running around. Males. Alpha males. Not enough alpha males.
Not enough alpha males. And the ones that pretend to be alpha are not real alphas. Because we should touch on this for a second. Real alpha male and females do not have to say they're alphas, right? Like, by definition.
It's just an inner confidence.
It's an energy, it's an inner confidence, it's like something rooted in yourself that nobody else can touch. And you just kind of walk in the room and you're like, hello, I'm an alpha, I'm a leader, natural leader, without aggression.
Right. So what Kelsey and I, this whole podcast started on the fact that Kelsey and I would have these ridiculously long phone conversations with frustrations in life, and just like, oh my God, like, what is the problem? And we just are frustrated, and we're chatting, and we're like, dude, nobody's talking about these issues, right? Well, so we're out here trying to bring in our best little handicapped manner that we can to present.
A little bit of logic with a lot of bit of spice.
A little bit of logic with a lot of bit of spice. But it's that we all want these really solid relationships is what we talked about last episode.
On the Instagram answers.
Yes, and these Mexican standoff situations where nobody can come to an agreement on a middle ground. So what we wanted to expound upon is why there is no middle ground, nobody coming to this first shot fired.
And no standards.
And no standards.
Because, like if there's no accountability or there's no standards, then everybody's just going to do whatever they want or whatever feels most comfortable to them. And just because it's comfortable to you doesn't mean it's the right thing.
Correct.
Like just because you are an avoidant attachment style and so attaching to another person makes you feel weak and vulnerable, well, okay, that's part of life. Like it's just part of it. If you want to have relationships, like even you and I as friends, we have to be super vulnerable with each other and be like, I'm really weak right now, emotionally or in this situation. Like, what's some logic behind this? Because I'm having too many emotions. And that's kind of what should be normal, but nobody talks about it.
It's all shelled up. But, so to establish, just going forward, what everybody wants in this world, to me, and especially me, I want a solid connection with a real partner. And that's what it seems like everybody wants. But where is our inability falling apart on? It seems to be that like men are like, oh, I'm not ready to commit. I'm not ready to commit. I don't know what I want. Yada, yada, yada.
That's excuses.
It's excuses.
I call bullshit on that excuse.
Well, I mean...
there are
but
times...
we use it too.
Yeah.
Females use it
we
too.
Do.
I've used it 10,000 times over. I just don't know what I want. Like, to get out of a situation. Like...
But instead, we could have used more clear conversation and said, this is where I'm at in my life. It may not be a good time. But even then, like,
no.
Why can't we do that?
No. It's like what our little 3 a.m. phone conversations have led to is it's not, there's a problem systematically. Mm-hmm. And systematically, you have to look at the big picture. When everybody has a problem, you have to pull out a bigger scope of looking at a problem. Why does everybody individually have a problem? Expand your scope.
What is the root cause?
What is the root cause?
What is the root cause of this problem? Like we do in nutrition and functional medicine.
Correct. But it can be applied to a society.
Or a psychological root issue.
Correct.
And I think we could probably boil a lot of this down to social media being a big part of it. Yep.
All right.
Problem number 1.
Social media. We've already talked. But everybody knows that's a problem. All right. But let's talk about something that nobody else is talking about.
What's that, Catherine?
So.
Spit it out.
Jesus Christ. I can't deal with you. Anyway, so one of the biggest things that I fell into the pattern of being the quote unquote fuck girl, and I hate to say it, but yes, here it is now on.
Thank you for being honest and vulnerable.
Shut up. You're so Dr. Phil. I want to stab you right now.
This is why we're the ionic bonds.
Oh. This is the whole... So, anyway, I really adopted a pattern of being the fuck girl because I didn't want to get hurt, so I was going to hurt everybody first, and I was going to take advantage of the situation, and yada, yada, yada. I go about this pattern of life for quite a bit of period of time, and it was at a very low moment in my life where my dad had to come up and really help me out of a really horrible situation. And he stayed with me for a few days, and I'm sitting there, I'm very vulnerable, and I'm sitting here just like, I have no direction as far as dating opportunities. I just have to adapt this mentality that I am going to provide for myself. I'm going to have to do everything for myself. I can't even let anybody in to see who I am because it's just gonna get hurt horrifically. Yeah. That's where we are at in society. And I have tried, and I told my dad, I said, I understand I need to go and date outside of my realm. And I said, but Dad, how is that going to create my interest into somebody? Like if I go date the quote unquote safe person, the stable, safe person, because it's going to be the match for me to create that stability, how am I, as a very independent, I have to have a lot of action and fun and adventure and this thrill in life. How is that safe and stable person going to match that? And he said, well, Catherine, you just don't realize that your whole entire society has fallen apart. It's fallen apart in your dating world because your females have fallen apart. And I said, what? What do you mean? He said, you can't find anybody to date because your entire female sex has fallen apart. And I was like, I got aggressive. I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous.
That's sexist.
That's
yeah.
sexist. It's because the males have fallen apart. They haven't had their standards together and we have fallen apart. He said, no, Catherine, men want to be held accountable. Men want to be held to standards. They want to be held and forced to drive to better by women. But women have fallen apart on their standards.
Because of insecurities, more than likely.
Because of insecurities, because of, social media. It keeps boiling down to social media. The second social media got introduced, men saw this whole world of opportunity.
When you pick up your phone and your screen, and I post bikini pictures, I post stuff like that. Like, I'm not trying to act like I'm a better person or anything like that, but I post those things because I work hard to look the way that I look, and I will fucking post whatever I want. Because if Lizzo and all these other people can post their body positive things, then why can't we? But at the same time, if your Instagram feed is full of naked women or like provocative looking women or pictures or whatever, and like not judging them, if that's what they want to do, then that's fine. But as a male, if your constant exposure is sex, then that's how your mind is going to work, and that's how you're going to function and make decisions. And so when you make decisions based on sex, what kind of person are you going to be? You're really not going to be a good person.
No.
It's just like any other addiction.
Correct. And so women have, I have legitimately spent way too much time thinking about this. Women, when it's we know how men operate. Like, we do. And so it's created this need for competition. And bro, we've created these unrealistic beauty standards.
Because everybody edits their pictures. Everybody has Botox and filler and Facetune and surgery. I mean, it's just like
hair extensions and perfectly blown out like nails and everything. I can't begin to itemize the amount of time. If you think about it in a business standpoint, like let's get real scientific here and like analytical. If you think about it in a business standpoint, where all of these females are trying to vie for the best opportunity, their best attractive mate, right? Well, now we have to compete with these self-created beauty standards that are so time-consuming.
That's the truth. Yes.
I've talked with Kelsey. I'm like, dude, the time it takes to get my nails done, I can't even I don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I have to have my hands to operate my phone, to continue my business and the success of people that are, working with me. I can't afford to relinquish 45 minutes of my day to have my hands tied up.
Exactly.
So that is adding up in a dollar sign, and then my hair alone, and then eyelashes,
And
Botox, and dude, the time it takes for a girl to meet these quote unquote.
I mean, honestly, it's a
no, I mean
part-time
these
job.
these are standard. These are
Normal.
These are normal beauty expectations. That's just normal. And when I'm adding it up, that's like
It's like 30 grand a year, probably, between hair,
Minimum.
nails, Botox,
Minimum.
facials.
But I don't even
easily.
care about the money part. It's the time part.
Yeah.
It's the time part that's like, that takes a lot of time. So we've created this unachievable, unrealistic beauty
Expectation.
exactly in the head, and women are sitting here like, Jesus Christ, and
Well, and let's-
Christmas I have to order this goddamn corset.
Well, and let's be
I have
honest.
to get my nails done. No, that's
Nobody's honest about their surgeries too. Like
no,
all
but
these,
that's true. That's money.
like Jennifer
It's-
Lopez is like, I'm 50 and I've never had anything. I'm like,
Oh,
honey,
okay.
okay.
Ridiculous. All right, so we've got all of these things and we're tallying it up, but that's where this is
Begins.
this is where it begins. It's where it begins. This attitude.
Well, and there's
No, because it doesn't translate to males.
does.
It doesn't.
It doesn't translate to males, no. But
No,
what happened?
all of us females know.
All of us know. And
We
then
all know.
We're competing with other females because men don't even notice. Like, for the most part, men aren't going to notice that you highlighted your hair
No.
or that you got lash extension. And they may notice something different, or they may be like, did you get Botox? But for the most part, they don't care. And so we're really doing it for other females. We're not even really doing it for other males or for males in general, because they don't fucking know. Like, they don't know what we're doing for the most part.
I mean, unless that photo doesn't look good, it might,
Yeah.
like, that's the only thing. That's the only thing.
Yep. And so then we've hypersexualized ourselves as females. And then it feels like when I'm like initially talking to guys, a lot of the times it goes sexual real quick. And I'm
quick.
like, hold on, I haven't even decided if I like you as a person. I haven't.
It's because we built ourselves
Yeah.
in this certain
And it's
way.
like, and it's just like, look, dude, like, you're going to get to know me and my goals. I want to know your ambitions, what you're working on in your life, like what your values are, what your trauma is. Because let's be honest, if you get in a relationship with someone that has trauma issues, because I have a trauma background, so I know how hard I've had to work to overcome, like being in a cult and an abusive marriage and other bad relationships that really hurt me. And it's just like, if most of us aren't taking the initiative to heal that inside of ourselves, and then we're entering into these situations where we're hypersexualized and there's no real depth of conversation or getting to know each other, it's just like, it makes no sense to me. It's like, okay, well, obviously you're okay with just having the sexual conversation.
Well, that's what we've built everything around. And I've got trauma for days. Doesn't matter. Blah, blah, blah. The thing is that what has been the root cause of it is there's some sort of almost, what's the word? It's resentment. It's resentment. So girls think guys only want this one thing, that hypersexual, perfect picture of this unattainable image.
Yep.
And we keep raising the bar, and we keep raising the bar, and we keep raising the
Yeah.
bar, and that just keeps adding more time and more time and more time on the things you have to do.
Yep.
And so when we sit there at the nail salon and we have to sit there and get our hair extensions in, and we have to research the new blah, blah, blah. Bro, it's a lot of time.
It really, Catherine does my makeup, by the way.
It's a
Because I can't. I don't know how.
it's a lot of time to to meet these standards that we think these men want. But it's so shallow.
It is.
It's so shallow. But this is what breeds the resentment, is because we have sat here and spent so much time basically work on
trying to get a guy to be in a relationship with us.
We built these things ourselves. Is what's the beauty of it. It's like we created these.
We created the monster.
We created the monster.
The monster.
And now we're just driving this machine
that nobody can steer.
And
we're just heading for a cliff.
And we're at
Cliff's
the cliff.
coming.
We're at the cliff.
And we're all just like, hey guys, we're having fun here. Nobody's going to stop the cliff coming.
Correct. Because, like, there was an epiphany moment when my dad had that conversation with me and was like, do you realize the reason why men have just no accountability is because there's no women?
I mean,
we're too busy getting all of our shit done.
No, time out. This is a revolutionary thought. What if women held off on sex for like a year? What would happen? I mean, just hypothetically, in the world, if women were like, nobody thinks it's going to be fun, okay? Nobody said that.
Nobody said that.
But
I'm sitting here like, Kelsey.
Nobody said it was going to be fun.
That's a terrible idea.
But, in thought, what kind of change would that evoke if we started saying, like, no, look, like, here's my standard as far as if you want to get to know me, then that's great. You can get to know me, but, like, with words and communication and intentional conversations and not just like, hey, want to come over at 10 p.m.? I'm bored.
Hey, here's my best picture, blah, blah, blah. Like...
No. And can we just say that girls really don't give a shit about pictures? Like, when it comes to, like, the unsolicited DMs.
Oh, unsolicited.
Nobody wants that shit. Like, nobody. And girls are not, like, what's stimulated by some random visual picture.
I will come in and say I'm probably a female that can come in with that interjection that I am stimulated visually.
But not from a rando.
No! Not from a
because you first have to have, women need to have some kind of emotional or mental connection for it to really matter.
100p.
It just has to be there. And to
100p.
me, it's just like, I can't even get anywhere in conversations with most men in the past. Like, I have a different situation now, but in the past, like, you can't even get anywhere without them being like, what are you wearing?
But Kelsey,
can you send me a picture?
But let's talk about the nails. All right.
I do have my nails done.
You do do you do that for yourself, or do you
Actually,
do it
yes.
for a beauty standard?
I do it for myself because I'm not very girly.
All right.
So this is kind of my girly
That's
thing.
the thing.
And it's professional to me. Like, I have to do
What do you call these little janky things?
Like, I don't know. They're not long or anything. It's just, and I actually got a color this time. I usually get black or white, so I did branch out.
You do it for yourself, though.
I do, because it's my time where I, like, actually am not working, because I'm the type of person that's psycho, and I have to force myself to take breaks. And so if I have my hands where I cannot actually touch my phone or my computer, it's fine for me.
I get that. I'm the opposite.
But
I'm the exact opposite, where I hate it. I always hated it. I hate getting my toes touched and all the scrubber brushes and sitting there like encapsulated.
But it does give me anxiety the whole time I'm there. I'm listening to a podcast because I'm like, I have to do something with my time.
Okay, but that's your moment where you've set aside for yourself. Yeah. It's not a beauty standard to where
my lunch break.
Right. All right. This is ridiculous. What a ridiculous.
But
Kelsey, of all things. But anyway, what I'm saying is, like, I used to get my nails done to obtain a beauty standard. And when I was like, good God, that's $60 every 3 weeks.
I did my eyelashes for a beauty standard. The eyelash extensions.
Right.
I did do that for a little while, and then it was just like the appointments would be every 2 weeks for an hour. And I was like, I just can't just, like, I don't like having shit on my face anyway, and so having to lay there, like, because you can't even look at anything. Like,
Exactly.
your eyes are closed.
You are completely immobile.
It's almost traumatizing because I'm like in the middle of the day, I have
Which
to go.
is so funny because I've asked you, because I was like, dude, my eyes are beady. It's something that I think I should, not because I've looked at anything, but like, I hate fucking putting mascara on, and I need to look like that so I don't look like I'm about to like OD on something.
Because I have blonde eyelashes.
So do I.
Yeah.
So I have blonde eyelashes, and it does look a little alarming to the normal public.
But it's not worth it. For the record, I don't think eyelash extensions are
But
worth it.
anyway, so I was bouncing off of you. I was like, shit, should I go get, like, it's something that is very noticeable. My little blonde eyelashes. I look like a little mole rat sometimes.
No.
And I'm like, ooh.
What was that? Can you do that one?
So it's like, should I go and do this? And you were like, no. All she had to say to me was, it's an hour and a half of sitting still with your eyes closed. And I said, nope.
It's torture.
Not worth it.
No.
Absolutely not.
And it's every
worth it.
2 weeks.
The world is gonna have to deal with my mole rat eyelashes. That's just how it's gonna have to be. I'm gonna look in the mirror and I'm gonna look at my little blonde tipped mole rat eyelashes in the morning, and I'm gonna be like, there you are, you little crystal clear motherfuckers.
Are we gonna like make mole rat cool again?
I think we should.
Go back to like middle school when we all wore the foundation that was like the CoverGirl wrong color.
Look,
do you remember that?
The moose!
And it was like, it would be like me wearing your color.
Yes, the moose! Oh my god, and we waxed all of our eyebrows off. Where was our eyebrows?
And we wore like
we were orange.
the Bare Minerals.
Oh yes, I'm so old that I had Bare Minerals.
We're 32. We're the same age. Don't
Yes,
say you're old.
we're old, bitch. We're old. Let's embrace it. I had Bare Minerals on mail order subscription, like the repeat.
I had like
with
the
little
old ass,
brush, and they said I still have the brush.
the old ass.
They made
crusty
their
brush.
shit solid.
They did.
I was literally.
And at least it was free of toxins. That was kind of my hippie standpoint, you know.
It's my favorite brush. I still have it. Mail order.
Anyway.
Repeat refill.
Back to we went on a rabbit trail.
That's my favorite thing to do.
So back
what about, do you all remember when Netflix used to send it?
Send it in the
mail. In the
package. I was always so paranoid about scratching the DVD too. I was like, what happens if I destroy this thing? Because it's very likely that I'm going to lose it.
Girl, I was running out there wild. I sent another DVD back in the slip just to see what would happen.
You would.
They charge you
They do.
$100.
Okay.
Until you reach your max, and then they're like, you just now bought this DVD. I was like, fair enough.
Fair enough. Okay, I understand. Okay, so back to, so we talked about how women are, in a sense, the ones that are responsible for holding the standard, because we're the ones that say, yes, this is acceptable behavior, or no, this is not acceptable behavior. So we've obviously failed. And I know I have too, because there's been times where I was like, maybe this is just what it is now, and this is how you have to behave. And now like, no, that it doesn't vibe with my soul. It doesn't feel right with me. Like, I'm not gonna behave that way just because everybody else is behaving that way.
Let's sum it up as, I'm fucking sick of this
We are
shit.
fed up with this, and we know lots of other women are too. So, I mean, really, we need to talk about it and really begin a discussion and be like, okay, these are some practical steps we can all take individually, because this isn't something we can just like fix overnight, or something that we can even fix ourselves.
And like, literally, it's like alcoholics going to AA. Like, we're all
dating AA.
We're all messed up. We're all messed up right now in this current situation. But
and all of us bring our crap from our past relationships and how people have done us wrong in the past, and then start to assume that everyone's going to behave that way. And then we're all just traumatized, and we're all like damaged from our past situations to where we aren't able to be vulnerable and emotionally open with other people.
Correct, which is why it was so important to find a friend like you, because I'm sitting here, I mean, you almost have to think about it as an addiction standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And where you find a friend that is basically your accountability partner. And like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the way we are all acting as a society. And you decide the friends that you choose. And so when the world is never going to take this massive universal shift of like, we're all be
peace and harmony, utopia.
Peace and harmony.
You mean that's not real?
Blah blah blah.
More like Idiocracy.
Yes.
Idiocracy 2021.
Yeah, it's gonna take individual females finding other females to be accountable in situations.
And the way that accountability works out with us is actually really healthy, because females have hormones, males have hormones, but females have more emotions than males. It's just part of estrogen. It's part of who we are. We're more nurturing. But we also are super intelligent too. So females kind of have both aspects of that, where we are very emotional, but we can also usually see through that if we're given explanations. And so for me, like when I'm really down or I'm emotional or I'm having trouble with something, like I call you and I'm like, I'm feeling like a crazy bitch.
And
this is how I feel right now. Is this logical? Or is this my trauma PTSD response? And Catherine's like, you're being a crazy bitch.
100%. Like outside looking in from a very like, I understand a lot of different things in life, I'll be like, Kelsey, that's a fucking crazy. Don't type that.
But see, we do the same thing for each other. Because
Yes.
then you'll call me and you'll be like, should I feel this way about this? Or is this okay? Am I going crazy? And then I'll be like, yeah, Catherine, like, calm the fuck down. You're good. Like, calm down. And it's that back and forth, because everybody has emotions, and emotions are feelings and chemicals. They're actual chemicals in your body that are telling you that something is happening that may not be happening.
But let's pull this back into the fact that not every female is choosing the right female friend.
That is very good. Yes, that's very accurate.
And so that's what took me a long time to realize, like, based upon my dad's conversation, to which I was definitely angry about and had to sit there and digest it, like, almost for 9 months.
Yeah.
Like, I sat and digested his conversation that he had with me, and I had to re-look about a lot of things, because we live in this very women that know no wrong type of situation in life. No, we can be wrong.
Yeah.
And pulling back and finding, if you want, at the end of the day, a solid relationship, sometimes you have to pull back and look at the people you're surrounding
Exactly.
yourself with. The opinion, and that's at the end of the day, whether it's male or female, that can go.
Who you surround yourself with is who you become like.
Correct.
So you're supposed to, like, one thing that Bedros, one of my mentors, taught me is, he was like, you want to spend 1/3 of your time around people that are better than you, 1/3 of your time around people that are like your peers, they're equal, like you and I, and then 1/3 of your time with people that you can teach or you can help, or somebody that's in a lesser part of their life where you can help them with where you've come. And I think
Right.
that's something that is so lost on our society, because everybody just hangs out with whoever's convenient or whoever they've known forever. Whoever
I'm not doing anything
whoever they can go out.
I'm not doing anything tonight. Let me fill my time.
my
with.
dinner date all the time, or my bar date, and
Right.
it's just kind of like, why? Like, what value is that person bringing to your life?
Nothing. And it's got to come down to people really just sitting there and really taking a hard look at the end of the day with who they're surrounding, really the opinions of their life. because if you are sitting there and hanging out with Joe Schmo, who's telling you blah 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 blah, she was doing this blah 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 blah, you know, I saw her effing somebody else, you're just gonna go ahead and formulate this idea about another person that could just never absolutely be true.
Because let's be honest, there are a lot of people that aren't mentally and emotionally stable. Like, we've come across some in our lives. We talked about it earlier, one person in particular, and it's just kind of like the things that they do not make any sense. And if you have someone in your life where you can look at their decisions that they're consistently making and it's not propelling them forward in life, it's not getting them towards their goals, and it's like, okay, well, that's the kind of person you either need to, like, spend a lot less time with or just cut them out entirely.
And you know, and just in a healthy manner too, because I'm never somebody that is just like, you're excommunicated.
Of course not.
From my
I have
life.
actually been excommunicated from
You
a cult.
are excommunicated.
I've actually experienced
We're
that was
definitely,
traumatic.
for future reference, we will talk about 100% some of the really dirty, just horrific, cringe things in our life that really led to an awakening.
Yeah.
That, like, at 32 years old, a lot of these really horrific, traumatic things that both you and I have been through, like, we'll get it out there, and it's gonna be something that will explain
Our thought process.
a lot about our thought processes that can really join in both worlds and the polarity of opinions and why we are the way that we are, but not enough people are talking, because what we've been through, the people that have been through what we have been through typically remain the silent.
And they don't change. And, like, the thing that happened with me, and I think you can relate too, is, like, I went through so many traumatic events in my young life. Like, even at 32, I consider us young, but there's so many things that I went through that when I tell people, like, I went through this situation, they're like, you what? And that's just one. And then I'm like, oh wait, that was like one of, like,
that's the same.
the 20 things that happened that year that almost killed me. And I remember there's times, like, when I got a divorce and I moved out, like, I had an air mattress and my own apartment, and that was it, in Ainsley. And it was just kind of like, I had to build myself to where I am now, where I have my own business, I can pay my own bills. Like, I didn't start out here, you know, like,
Right.
I came from living in a shithole by myself, paying all my bills as best that I could as a single
Right.
mom. And that didn't even add on to the trauma that happened after that, and the relationship after that was almost worse. And so it's just kind of like, we have come from these dark, desperate places and sought answers. And I mean, I sought answers, like, in meditation and podcasts and mentors and, like, just my self-exploration, therapy. And it's just kind of like,
She was a little more proactive on her search
I was
for
extremely
answers, where I was in a complete avoidance.
but that's just different personality. Like,
It's just different. She was proactive.
I was so desperate to understand life and to understand my mistakes that I had made, because I didn't want to make the same mistakes. Because mine were, like, I was in a cult. Like, that's pretty serious. And so for me, like, I had, out of desperation, to have to know, like, how not to make those mistakes again. And so I sought out the answers, and I was extremely aggressive with myself. Like, I mean, there were days where I was crying on the floor, desperately searching my soul, trying to figure out the kind of things that we're talking about. And that's why, like, I love sharing these kind of things with people, because if I can help someone that is in that spot on their bathroom floor, crying their eyes out, thinking their life is never going to change, it's never going to get better.
Exactly fucking right.
One
Because
person, if I help one person.
Exactly, because where you were so proactive, I was such a latent sufferer. Like, I just kept everything in. I wasn't progressive about it. Maybe I would share my story with one or two people, and that story would just really, I mean, have a huge impact on that person's life. And I'm like, well, my God, like,
When you've had a huge impact on my life too.
Well, exactly. When you start sitting here and you realize you are withholding information from other people on a better bridge, a better step, another foothold in this rock of life. When you realize that you're withholding that information, and I'm like, dude, all I was looking for at that point in time was that answer for that next foothold.
Or just someone to be like, I understand.
Correct.
Like, sometimes when somebody's hurting or somebody's struggling, the best thing you can do is be like, I understand.
I understand.
I'll listen to you.
But not enough of us are talking right now that have these little opinions, these little nuggets, and we all need to start holding each other accountable and finding people, these silent people, this is what I call you, a silent sufferer, because, and I'm a silent sufferer, like I'm so tight-lipped.
Because we like to carry it on our own.
Yes.
Because as independent alpha females as you will, like,
we will carry this burden until it just breaks us.
I honestly think that there was times in my life in the past year and a half, 2 years of building my business and like going through COVID, like there were times where I might die doing this.
Right.
Because it was just so mentally and emotionally exhausting with PTSD. Like, during COVID, my PTSD is mostly associated in the domestic environment, in the home. And so me being locked up in my home and antisocial was
the worst.
The worst. The worst.
That's what's driven me out of my shell here, because my world's worst fear was being told, stay at home.
No, you can't go somewhere.
Because I was running away from everything. I was filling my time up with my social butterfly personality and all my contacts. I literally could keep every single square inch of my day occupied to where I never had a moment's rest. But then quarantine hit. And then it was like, go stay at home.
And your coping mechanism was stripped from you.
Correct.
That's what happened to me too.
And I had to look at everything. I had to look at it all.
Because I don't know if you remember from 2019, that's when I traveled a whole bunch and I was doing music festivals.
Same night, 2019 was
my year.
It was the best. It was the best.
It was the best year.
Wow.
And then I'm starting my business.
But it was a false year,
but
apparently.
It wasn't real.
It wasn't real because we were running away from a lot of things, but everybody else has those same things that they're dealing with.
We're all running from it.
But everybody's uncomfortable to talk about it.
But here we are on a podcast in my kitchen.
There you go.
Because we have to, in our gangster little podcast that we have going on here. It's really janky, and I apologize. Hopefully we'll have a studio at some point.
She's all professional. And I'm like, let's give it, let's roll. Let's dim the lights a little, like make it look a little more like
gangster.
Hostile. Like,
we're here to tell you the truth.
Rustic.
You ready to hear it?
The lights are too bright.
All right, they're kind of bright today. Okay, so practically speaking, if we as females, we can only take responsibility for ourselves, individually and collectively. So what can be a practical step or steps that we can take to really start changing the culture of female-to-female relationships and also the whole dating scenario, even if it's possible, maybe? What you think?
Listen to the ladies, because it's our problem. You might disagree, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree
We're going to get
about
some
it.
hate messages from this.
One hundo.
But clarify,
let's just.
If you're offended, it's because your emotions and you're choosing to be offended.
No, well.
Hashtag
that's
2021.
that could be true, but if nobody can
It's a
If you-
conversation. You can
it's a
listen to a
conversation,
conversation
and
of
if-
another opinion and not be offended. It's just
It's
if you want
a
to believe
revolutionary art.
if you want to believe that the sky is red, that doesn't affect my life. Go on and believe that. That's your opinion. Cool.
Here's what we are, proposing is that everybody is in a Mexican standoff. I talked about my dad and his realization of the systematic failure. It's actually females, and that's fine. How about we choke?
You had to use that word.
How about we choke on our pride
We
for
have
half a second and realize that it's actually us.
But technically,
Shush.
it's empowering.
It's empowering.
It's empowering
in a
that
way,
we are the ones that can.
But I mean, no, it's not empowering. It's the way it's delivered, because the way we are today, we're like, oh, we can do no wrong. No, we have done wrong, and what we want is better.
So really, it's
how
like
about this?
Resetting a broken bone.
Exactly. Fall back.
It may hurt for a second.
Oh, it's gonna hurt for a long. It's gonna hurt for a long time.
But then your bones heal back strong, like they should. So let's just take the punch, square on the face. Yeah, we fucked up, and now let's change it. So.
Exactly. It's not going to feel good.
It's not going to feel good.
It's not going to feel good.
And we're probably going to get rejected a lot in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is men are going to be like, my ego hurts.
I got rejected in middle school because I got so impatient with a guy making up his mind. It's like, hey, do you like me or do you like Katie Grabowski? And I'll name this because Katie Grabowski, you got some shit going on. Because I was like, what do you want at the end of the day? And he's like, I want Katie. And I was like, fair enough. I'm gonna go cry. My mom picked me up at the car pickup line. That's when I planned this attack. You said you liked Katie Grabowski. I was like, but at least you were honest, bro. And we handled it that day. He liked Katie Grabowski.
It's fine.
They're married now. That was middle school, by the way.
Does that even happen anymore? Have you seen
that doesn't happen
Have
anymore.
You seen the middle schoolers nowadays? They didn't go through an awkward stage.
It's a bit traumatizing.
It's traumatizing. I'm like, I had braces and
I was just like, man, we got.
I was a tomboy. Can you believe that?
So was I, and that's why I was like, we gotta settle this up. You can't be flirting with me and Katie.
Not both of us.
No. Like, this was before social media. This is how
the
OGs handled it.
The OGs, the alpha females.
Carpool was pulling up. People were lining up. Everybody was standing out on the curb. And I was like...
Here we go.
I was like, hey, I know you like Katie, and I know you like me, but who do you like better? He was like, Katie. And I was like, oh, solid. And I went off on my life, but at least I knew.
At least you weren't the side chick.
What happened?
At least
in
you
that
weren't
moment. Exactly.
Because you weren't the side chick to the person that's now married.
Exactly. Where did we lose that art?
Like, to me, it's like there's a certain like circle of respect, right? So like, if you know a dude's in a relationship or whatever, and he hits you up,
Don't go after him.
Like,
don't think of it as a challenge.
You're never gonna win.
You're ridiculous. We need more women being stallions. That's what it is.
Alpha females.
And just being like, these are not the standards.
This is what I want, and I'm gonna accept this and nothing less than this. And if you can't live up to that, then I'm sorry. I will find someone who will. The end.
So how do we do that?
Practically.
Well, we'll give you tidbits for the next episode.
Step number one,
confidence, all right?
Confidence.
But
the foundation
of it is inner confidence.
Inner confidence in yourself and the ability to know what you want, because you can't demand standards or, like certain expectations from people when you don't meet those yourself. So one really good thing I read in a book, and I can't remember which book it was, but it was to become the person you want to be with. And so if you want to be with a strong, independent, sociable, like outgoing person that can do all these fun things, well then why aren't you being that person? Like, you have to be that person first, and then you'll attract
Don't
that
expect
kind of person.
it from somebody else to reach out to do those things
No.
that you want to do. That's
You got to have
ridiculous.
your life first, because what
Correct.
happens if you start out and you don't have those things, you don't have your own life first, and you start dating someone, and then you become codependent in that relationship because all your time is spent with that person. You have no female friendships to keep you balanced. And
Right.
and like, I've fallen into that. I've done that so many times in my relationships.
I think we all have.
Where I was like all in, like, I want this person and I'm gonna like
And that's
obsessed.
your world.
And that's your world, and then you just spend all your time with that relationship. And I've never known a relationship like that actually works.
Well, it's because we all have these shallow relationships as females. Like, we all have these girls that we're going to hang out with on brunch. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. They're all shallow. Everybody has shallow relationships. So we want substance. But what it's going to take is recognizing the shallow relationships. At the end of the day, being comfortable and confident, that's a whole different issue, to where just sit back for 1 second of your day and analyze your relationships with people, whether it's your family, whether it's your dog, whether it's your mom, auntie, boyfriend side. Look at them all and sit
Particularly your parents.
there.
Because your parents, like especially your opposite sex parent, is going to determine a lot of what you look like in a dating potential or a spouse. And so if you have a very distraught relationship with your same-sex parent, a very unhealthy relationship, you're going to have an unhealthy relationship in your dating life.
And just take a little finer tooth comb and look at everything in a real raw perspective. And then sit there and take a little inner look at your confidence. Where are your things that you're insecure about? Are you insecure about your foot size? Are you insecure about your hair color? Are you insecure about your eyebrows? Blah, 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 blah. Now, what are you looking at every single day? You have your phone.
Social media. With people with all those perfect things that you don't have. So you're feeding it back into your brain.
You are looking at your little self-constructed sociosphere. These little things, and this is just one minute step, one tiny little step for social change that could possibly occur. We have our phones. What are you looking at every day? You're looking at something that's going to be a trigger. Recognize your triggers. Recognize your triggers of insecurity.
And you got to look at it like it's like an alcoholic walking into a bar and
that's
saying
exactly what
and saying,
yes,
I'm not going to drink alcohol in this bar, but I'm going to be around all these people. You can't do that.
You can't
and if you're being triggered and you're not confident in yourself, and struggle with this.
But people don't realize what they're even being triggered by anymore.
It's all subconscious.
It's all subconscious. You have to take just a complete detox, a step back, look at your whole entire life in interwebs, and then come back and see what you are being triggered by. With your phone,
and it's a process. Like
it's a huge process.
And a lot of people just want to be like, "Oh, I'm confident," and then they just think that they can think that you're confident. That's not how it works.
You cannot
and
think that you're confident whatsoever. That's just not going to work.
Yeah, and it's like an everyday process. Like you go to the gym every day to work on your physique or your body or to be healthy, and it's just like with your self-confidence, it's the same thing. Like every day, you should be doing your meditation, your gratitude, journaling, even talking to your friends about the things you're insecure about, because more than likely I'll be like, Catherine, I'm insecure about my eyebrows. And she's like, you're crazy. Don't do anything to your eyebrows or don't do whatever.
Not that you're crazy.
It's just, yeah.
It's just, I know what you are seeing.
Yeah. And you're like, that's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic. Because I hate saying that you're crazy, because it's not that you're crazy. It's just what you are seeing in your head.
Right.
Is not the perception
of other people.
And like, you are looking too much at social media right now. You're not crazy. This is the idealized...
Take the blinders off.
Take the blinders off. This is the idealized beauty standard, because she has great eyebrows. She really does. Look at this bone structure. Yeah. I said, if you got your eyebrows done because you think this is the way you need to look, it's... No, I said don't take that type of decision based upon things you are seeing.
Exactly. So we got through the one step of building your own self-confidence and really being secure in yourself, because then you can go and confidently express yourself and build healthy relationships. So I think number 2 would probably be like being vulnerable. Because now that you're confident in yourself, you can go and communicate.
Bro, we're so broken. Like, let's just like, man, they're not ready for step 2.
Well, okay, so the vulnerability step is like something that's really hard for me personally, because I like to pretend that I am strong all the time.
Maybe it's not me not ready for step 2.
Yeah, maybe it's you. So
I just reached confidence level.
Yeah. So the vulnerability part for me honestly started in a lot of social media, because for me, like, it was really uncomfortable to post pictures of myself initially. Videos were something I hated. Like, I remember friends, mentors being like, Kelsey, you need to be doing videos, like 2 years ago. And I was like, I don't want to do videos. I'm uncomfortable. It makes me really nervous. Like, I don't want to do it. And I think the vulnerability piece is one of the most important parts, because it's one of the parts that actually makes you give to someone else. Because when I'm vulnerable to you, Catherine, and I tell you something that I'm really scared about or something that like really hurt me, then I'm giving that power to you in that moment to either like destroy me or build me up. And I think a lot of the times most of us are just like, full stop. I'm not going the vulnerable route. Like, that's how I get hurt. That's how everyone hurts me.
Exactly.
And so it's just kind of like, I'm going to build up this wall where everybody's just, you know, walls. And
Fortnite. That's what the concept of the game was based on.
Shit.
Oh, shit. Okay. Let me retract.
Okay.
Nerd chill. Don't.
Nerd chill.
We're not just
Fortnite over my head. Okay, so the vulnerability piece, though, is something that I really had to work on. Like, I would initially share like little things with my friends, and then I got to the point where I have like these friends out in California that I work with Truline and stuff. And I remember sitting with my friend Aaron at like lunch or breakfast one time, and I was telling him like all these like about the cult and like abuse and all these things that I've been through, and I was just like, I can't believe I just told him all of that. Like, he's gonna so judge me. And it wasn't the case at all. Like, he opened up to me about like his past and the things that he had been through, and like we really connected in that moment. And like, I really value his friendship because of that. And same with Bedros. Like, Bedros and I connected on trauma, like on PTSD and trauma, and us both being vulnerable about those things. Like, he's helped me so much just through that conversation.
I sat here and I came from a family, you don't talk about your shit, you rise above it. And I came from that mentality, and I stuffed everything. But like, I got dealt a hand of cards that you just don't get dealt on a normal. And so that whole fighter mentality only really got
reinforced.
Yeah, well, it reinforced it, but like, I couldn't talk to anybody because of how deep that wound really was. And I realized for a second, like, well, damn, like, there's really only 3 people on this world. 3 people on this planet Earth that could actually see my vulnerable side, and 2 of those are my parents. Wow. What happens if like one car accident takes them out. I would absolutely fall apart as a complete functioning human. And that's not healthy. But every time I reached out to somebody and told them 1 iota of what I went through, I'm talking like 100th, they'd be like, oh, I feel so sorry for you. I'm like, bro.
Never mind, not trying that
No, let's just bail. Let's be the fun.
again. Then you found me and you're like,
let's be the fun, happy cat. You know, nobody knows what's going on behind Kat's exterior. You know, she's just the fun party cat. Yeah, cool. But then I've gotten tired with life and society. And then also realizing that my parents could have a car accident with my sister in there. And then I would be like, whoo!
I gotta make some friends.
I gotta make some friends that really know who I am. And then I'm like, wow, nobody can really take this story until I find a girl that, you know, went and married somebody in South Africa because she was told to by a cult.
You know,
and I was like, that's the person.
That's the girl that can understand me.
That's the girl that can understand me and my situation. We are definitely extremes.
We are.
Right? We are definitely extremes, but what we're saying is
learn from us.
Learn from us, but go find people that you can be vulnerable with, even if it causes it, because it caused me cringe.
Oh, cringe.
There's moments to reach out to her. They'd be like, "Ooh, I think I embarrassed you at the gym. Or did I upset you when I walked?" Like, it was a cringe. I literally walked up to her ass. I've known her for a year and a half. I was jealous of her. I
didn't even know that.
No, I was entirely jealous of her because you were associated with like people that my ex-husband was liking photos. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. This whole built up, like, I don't like her. And to which I realized, I was like, a lot of my dislike to her just came from insecurities on me. And so I'm going to walk my little dandy ass up to her one day at the gym and be like,
it was the one day.
"Hi, I'm Kat." Like, so awkward. And she was in such a bad mood.
It was
like, it literally felt like a situation where I was like, oh.
I had just found out some really devastating information, like
bad timing.
20 minutes prior, and I was trying to not murder someone by being at the gym.
But I'm on this revolutionary turn of making myself a better person.
But it worked out.
Yeah, it did, because I went to try to introduce myself, like, literally, like, raw. Like, "Hi, I'm Kat." And I was like, wow, that went really poorly. Walk off to my car, and I'm like, psh, shake it off.
But I did message her later.
No, I messaged first because I was like, look, we're going to just, if I feel like I'm building this little preconceived notion about a situation, I'm just going to, let's just ask about it. I'm like, look, I'm sorry if
you look like you're going through something.
If I interrupted your workout, didn't mean to interrupt you, blah, blah, blah. Boom, send, let's handle it. Let's handle it.
And then I messaged back and I was like, "I'm so sorry. It had nothing to do with you. I just found out this really terrible information."
Exactly.
And I told her what happened and everything, and I was like, "I'm just trying not to cry at the gym right now."
I didn't let my insecurities overcome overcome me at the moment with another approach at a girl for a friendship.
Yeah.
And I didn't let those insecurities overcome me. I wanted to follow through, have communication, explain the matter, and just have a dialogue. And boop.
And now we're friends.
Now we're friends. We're sitting here in front of television. Not television.
The podcast screening. I don't even know the software we got today. Hopefully it works. So we did step 1 and step 2. So build your own confidence.
Tune out of social media if you find triggers on Instagram, Facebook, freaking Pinterest. Unfollow it. Unfollow it.
You
If
can
you
only
feel like
compete
it's
with
something
yourself,
that's
you know?
just like making you feel like, ugh, click unfollow.
Unfollow.
It's that easy.
Yeah, if you're an alcoholic, don't go to a bar. If you are addicted to social media and you get triggered by insecurities by social media,
Wow.
cut
Also
that shit.
news.
News.
Because a lot of that's a new thing now.
Anxiety from
It's
news.
an anxiety from news. Disengage. Bloop. You can
Unplug.
you can get your news and it be relevant from outside sources. All right.
I mean, I tell you most of the news. I'm like, did you see this?
No, that's
No, just
I'm
kidding.
not sitting here like fact checking.
Fact
I'm
check.
like,
No.
Kelsey.
Well, okay, so number 2 was be vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
And that involves being uncomfortable,
Putting
and
your ego aside.
putting
for
your
a
ego
second.
aside, being honest and communicating. So those are all things that make us all a little uncomfortable, but it's just part of life. And if you want to grow as a person, be fucking vulnerable. Just be vulnerable. It's not gonna kill you. You're not gonna die. You may have
You're not gonna die.
you may
Like,
have a
literally-
panic attack.
Yeah, but what is a panic attack? You think you're gonna die, but then you come out and you're like,
You're like, I overcame that shit and I did it. So
and I'm survivable amongst anything I can live amongst the gods. Trust me.
trust me, it works. It works. So be vulnerable. Is there a step 3 or should we leave that for another episode?
We'll leave it for another episode.
We'll give you the
for
juicy
sure.
details in the next episode when we really dive into like how to actually navigate the dating world and what it's like as a alpha female.
When you would like somebody to actually reciprocate
Or
those feelings that you've already learned to overcome.
yeah. Now
And
you
you're
gotta
just
now you're
sitting
trying
here
to find
and you're
somebody
like
else.
prodding somebody else that's like a jellyfish.
You're like, come on, can you say
Come on,
something?
jellyfish.
Say something else.
Bleep, bleep, bleep.
Come on, don't you have any thoughts in there besides dick
No,
pics?
let's come on. Let's prod people into like a little.
We're gonna
better
make everyone
behavior.
so uncomfortable. It's
Oh,
fine.
I'm uncomfortable myself a half my
I feel
life.
like I wonder if we make other people uncomfortable when they watch this. They're like, man, those bitches are really awkward.
No, we are.
We are, but it's fine. I like being
It's
awkward,
okay. I do too.
and I embrace
It's
it.
how I've always
I'm
been.
so awkward because like I was a dork growing up. I was a nerd. I
We
was.
are. Like, I mean,
I love books.
Yeah,
like
we
I
all-
like books more than people.
we
sometimes.
all like these awkward things in
So-
life. It's what makes us unique and individuals. But you can also be, quote unquote, the popular kid, but also a fucking weirdo too.
Yeah, like you can be a dork and like accept it because again, that comes
You
back to
can-
the confidence thing. Like I own who I am and all my mistakes and all my insecurities, and I will openly talk about them because when you talk about this is a really good secret that I did not learn myself. Someone else taught me this. When you talk openly about your insecurities, you have the power of them now, and nobody else can
Exactly.
use those insecurities against you. So if you're like, man, I'm really insecure about blah, and then everybody's like, well, I was gonna make fun of you for that, and now they can't because you said openly in front of them, like, I know I'm fucking weird. I'm weird and nerdy and dorky and awkward, and then they can't be like, man, did you see Kelsey the other day? Like, she's so awkward. She's like super fucking awkward. Like, and then I'll be like, yeah, bro, I said it first. I already know.
I'll use this as the last example. Is one of my biggest things that I'm super insecure about is communication, and which was
Oh.
going to be a little tidbit of our third.
I would have never guessed.
Anyway, this is just super insecure about my inability to communicate about things. But just this recently, like just this week, I was brought to literal tears for being called out about my ability on communication. But did I? Yes, I mean, I was a pansy, but I cried about it. I talked about it.
Called me.
I called her. I had that person that I could talk to that would give me a stable opinion on both sides of the fence. And I sat there and I was like, yes, I have a huge flaw in myself about communication. And I was vulnerable in that moment and realized a situation where I need to grow upon.
Keep going.
Man,
going.
that little mic.
Just keep talking.
Realized that was a situation that I needed to grow upon. Because I was vulnerable, I recognized a flaw in myself. Into which...
And now you're working on it.
I'm working on
and
it.
You can't...
Bro, I mean, we're talking like 2.5 days of like...
2 days deep.
2 days deep.
Hey.
But this work day that I went through was so much better. Like, I came in, recognized, owned it. Own
your shit.
Owned it.
Own your shit.
I mean, it hurt to realize, like, bro, I suck at I really do. Even though I think I'm good, I And I had
to... It's extreme ownership.
It's extreme ownership.
Jocko has a really good book plug. Jocko, Extreme Ownership is an excellent book because it's just one of those things where, like, nothing in your life will fucking change until you say, I am the only one who cares enough about myself and my life to change it. And that's exactly what you did.
That's what I had to do. And I'm working on it because I realized, Jesus Christ, maybe I am really this terrible. And I really am that terrible. And I'm taking those steps. I had an accountability person to see both sides of the spectrum when I related a story, own me to something, and then I'm taking actions to implement it. And this is what we want the world to do, because if we all want the same thing, let's take a step back.
Yeah, because we didn't just on the phone conversation, Catherine told me what happened. We talked about it. We talked about the pros and cons, both sides of the story. Mm-hmm. And then we didn't just keep bitching about it. We said,
did something.
We did something. We said, okay, Catherine, what are you going to implement tomorrow or in the future that can help you better this? And Catherine listed off all these things. And now she went into her workday today.
Much better.
Much better because you took practical steps. You had accountability partner. You had somebody telling you, okay, what are you going to do about it? Instead of just complaining about the other person.
Because and it wasn't polarized like you said. It wasn't complaining about the other person. It was actually looking at the dynamic of the situation. It wasn't male or female. It was taking a step back and looking at the situation. And it's what we're trying to do.
In all areas of our life.
In all areas of our life.
So stay tuned for a more detailed explanation on how to apply these. Even if we act like we know what we're talking about, we kind of are just winging it.
We're babies. But I think we have a solid ground. We really do.
We really do. And we have good intentions. And I think that's kind of the big thing behind this podcast is like, we're not seeking to be an authority figure. We're not seeking to be better than anyone else. We're literally just sharing our lives and our experiences and the things that we've learned, because I feel like I'm a 60-year-old trapped in a 32-year-old body based on my life experiences. So if I can help somebody else like not suffer a little bit,
we've all
totally
both
happy.
Of us have lived. We've experienced life of like 3 people's lives as far as, things you shouldn't have to go through. And it would be a crime, I think, to withhold that type of things from the general populace and not let them, whether you want to grab hold or you don't grab hold or, whatever. But
there's always going to be one person that it'll help is what I tell myself, because I really believe, like, I went through certain situations because I specifically helped other females through those same situations. Like, I've helped other females that have been in abusive situations and abusive relationships or even, like, a bad mindset because I went through those things. And so now I look at all my trauma and all my experiences as things that I went through because I can now help other people get through those things.
And that's what we'll keep going upon. We'll keep expounding upon just different thoughts that we have when we encounter life situations and whatever comes up as a topic that could be a different take on a situation. We'll keep talking about it, but stay tuned.
Stay tuned. More episodes to come.
100%. Well, no, we have to give them the steps for step 3 because
step 3 the next episode? Is it execution?
Execution
of the last 2. That's it. Execution of how to maintain standards and be vulnerable and be self-confident. So that will be our next episode. talking about execution and all of these things.
Execution and implementation.
We sound so businessy. Businessy.
If you only knew.
If you only knew.
Or for all I knew.
Well, we tried. Okay, so.
Next episode coming at you.
And we're going to stop recording.
Bye.